Welcome to Drum Addicts on Andertons TV, part 2 of Charlie. So we're going to talk about the new snare drums that were released at NAMM as well. So there is a fourth one that's lost off the ends because it got lost in transit, didn't have his passport in Brexit. So there's a 13 version we haven't got.
Yeah, so 13 by 5.5, same spec as this, and this Cherry Bomb's a 14 by 6. So,
which one was your favourite out of these ones we played?
You know what? Every time we picked one up, I went, "That's my favourite." Now, probably the Equinox, to be honest.
That's my favourite as well.
But you know what? We picked up the last one. I was playing this kind of blue Stanton Moore-esque snare-based groove, and I thought that'd be the hardest to play, and it was a dream. So it's difficult to choose. Open, they all sound great. So yeah, I'd probably pick that, but that's probably more from an aesthetic point of view.
See, I like this. I like the concept of this. I don't necessarily like the staggered lugs, but I did like the cross stick we got on this. The cross stick was really good on that one.
Yeah, and the thing I found as well, with the single flange tube being so narrow, you really, you're really aware of where your stick is on the drum as such. You know, I find with like a triple flange or these sonic savers, whilst it's fine on the really intricate stuff, which is what that is designed for, you just know exactly what your stick's doing on the snare. So I loved that. I thought it was a really cool drum.
Talking about these single flange hoops, these are the new sort of posh Mapex ones. So these are actually chrome over copper. So something a bit different.
Yeah.
They seat the head really nice. Actually, it was quite easy to tune. So
yeah.
That I just think it's pretty cool having that sort of retro thing. I quite like. So
it was really surprising how sensitive it was. Playing it lightly, we didn't have the snare wires overly tight on the drum, and even then just playing really light stuff, the difference between your ghosts and your heavy hits can be quite drastic, and you still hear the ghosts really nicely. So really nice touch.
Well, that's kind of down, if we flip it over, it's to the posh internals. So the bearing edges, they're actually different bearing edges top and bottom. So most snares might just be a standard 45 cut or whatever they are. These are actually different. So these are...
It's 45 top, 35 bottom.
Just to be different.
Just to be different, yeah. And you've got a nice graduated snare bed as well. So yeah, it is. It's a Russ Miller special right there. It's just designed to be ultimately a really, really well-rounded drum. You've got the staggered lugs for an extended tuning range. It's ultra sensitive, and again, with it being, what is it? Is it a 14 by 5? It isn't it? It's 14 by 5. You've just got a really good tuning range on there, so it's going to do everything from low tune, backbeat stuff to high tune pop. And I really wish, I'd love to try it with an Ambassador on it as well, just to get that bit of pop in there. But yeah, fantastic drum.
Well, name dropping Russ Miller, he sort of obviously switched brands a few years ago, but Russ is really into designing his gear and gets very particular about his gear. And all of the new Black Panther range are the design labs. So Russ is actually one of the gurus, shall we say, that designs it. So obviously this snare is very similar to his signature one, the staggered lugs and the general the vibe of this one is very close to his signature model. So you can see his influence across the whole range. Yeah,
and it's definitely, the Sound Lab has taken on somewhat of a premium kind of position in the snare line. It's slightly above the Black Panthers from a price point perspective, but you are getting quite a lot of new features on there as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the AMG of Mapex's new factory.
Yeah,
so
good way to put it.
Yeah, so they all come with pure sound wires. So that's obviously something that Russ introduced with his signature model. These all these design labs have them on as well.
Yeah, another nice new feature is the SAS finishes, which stands for Sonic Clear Attenuation System. And the basics behind it, if I put it in layman's terms, is that they're really low mass finishes. They almost come across like an oiled finish, but I think they are just really, really thin lacquers, if anything. And the idea of that is that it doesn't impede the resonance of the drum, so you're getting the most pure tone out of each snare in the line. And it does work, I think. They really open with no dampening. And I think on all three in the videos we didn't dampen them at all, actually, so they came across properly.
We did a couple with Moongel and without and things. So yeah, basically Charlie plays a couple of different grooves. So I mean, my favourite groove would be the cross stick one. So after the sort of the cross stick one, Charlie did a couple other bits of playing. You'll check them out in a bit. But I have to say, this one, when you were bashing it, this one I think just sort of fat and low.
Yeah.
Gets that real chunky sound. I think it will translate well, I hope, for people just really wanting that chunky sound.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the surprise of the three, actually, because I felt the same. I ended up playing it and going, all right, a bit of a head turner somewhat. But yeah, when you look at the specs of these drums, that kind of it occupies your mid-ranges, so there's a lot of body there and definitely a lot of oomph. With the maple, it's slightly more dense, so you've got those high overtones that you can kind of dampen off. And the cherry, the tops come off, so it's a very warm, almost a vintage sound, realistically. So they all have their own little vibe going on, but that's not to say they're not well-rounded snares.
I have to say, I think this one looks the best. I like the sort of retro tube lugs, and it's just a nice size for me.
Yeah.
They obviously
and it's very clean, isn't it? It's natural.
They've raided the parts of the factory. Obviously, these are on the Widow, and they also are on the Retrosonic. But I think they're great lugs.
Yeah, really nice. And like you say, it's very. It's got the old school look again, and it's very natural. There's not too much going on. I think it'll sit nicely behind the kit.
Well, I think it just looks clean. Even though this, from a design point of view, this was done on purpose to stagger the lugs. To me, it looks cluttered. I like the sort of
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I guess it's taste, because for me that aesthetically is fantastic, but I totally agree. This is a lovely looking drum.
And then obviously, just to make this one a bit different, this one's got the black nickel hardware, so they're all slightly different. Obviously, also dual air holes, which is new for this one. I'm just sitting it because this is how you're going to play it. There are two right near your knees, so
yeah. And actually, that is a nice feature, because the positioning of those vents, although it's never intentional, you often find yourself sitting with your vent hole right next to your snare mic. So from a recording perspective, do you really want all that blowing back out the snare at your mic? And when you look at the throw positioning, which is off to your left, you're inevitably going to end up with those snare vents in front of you. So it's a really cool idea, definitely going to work. And from a recording standpoint, if there are any drummers who are recording themselves out there, really nice touch.
And if you're just a normal super anal drummer where the logo of the head has to match the logo of the drum,
exactly, yeah,
fits perfectly.
Perfect, yeah. Shall we mention the constructions quickly?
Yeah, so actually let's flip this one over.
Yeah, so this is the Heartbreaker, which is a mahogany snare. It's an all mahogany construction. And if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure it's 8 plies on the shell with a 4-ply re-ring, top and bottom.
Which is new. That's
that is
the new thing.
Yeah,
so, obviously, going back to the whole Russ Miller designing, he stuck on his signature one. Now it's on
across
his.
the board on the Sound Lab stuff.
Yeah, so
yeah, and then if we moved to the Equinox, for instance, this is designed. It's got the tops on there. It's a very open sounding drum, so it's all American maple. It's a 14x5.
Yeah, also got reinforcement rings on this one as well.
So this is a 6-ply, 6mm American maple shell, and then it's 4-ply re-rings top and bottom.
So the only other difference on this one obviously comes with the Diplomat head rather than the Ambassador X's.
Yes, yeah. And then moving to the Cherry Bomb, this is the only one of the range that doesn't have re-rings. So this is an 8-ply cherry shell. It's actually 9mm thick, so it's just a standard 45-degree cut top and bottom, 8-ply shell. Does a great job.
And its little brother is exactly the same construction, just a 13.
Good point. Yeah.
So it's which I played when I was out at the NAMM show, and it was actually what I thought was going to be my favourite, and I was looking forward to playing
Yeah,
it
it's
today,
definitely,
so.
it sits in that, like sonically, it sits a little bit higher, doesn't it? So it's definitely got some pop to it.
Yeah, I just like cranking a 13. If you had like a side snare.
Well, that's it, yeah, you know, and you're right there, I always have that side snare there, partially as a backup, but it's always tuned higher, and it would be great for that, so yeah.
Makes a good iPhone stand as well, so.
Yeah, you know.
Put Maltesers on it. The other cool thing which I thought you did when you were playing was, on this one you did that really cool, like, Ghost Note one.
Yeah,
It's a sensitive drum, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it was a bit of a play around, and it came across quite well, and I think the reason for that, as I was saying, you can have a big dynamic between your solid full hit, you know, with a rim shot, and your ghost, and you're still hearing it. A lot of drums, if you're hitting hard, the ghosts don't really come across, and you tend to find yourself pumping your bottom head in the mix. You know, you got a lot of mic in there to make up for it, and in a live scenario, you're not going to hear that, and it's kind of a false representation, shall we say.
But that's also sort of shows off every single design feature that they've put in this. Obviously,
it does, yeah.
Staggered lugs, single flange hoops. Also, the head, which you commented on when we got them from the offset, you're like, oh, I'd put an Ambassador on that. This is designed with the Diplomat to make it sensitive. So
it is, yeah.
That's the whole...
And it's perfect for that, it is. And I was very surprised, sensitivity-wise. It's been a while since I've played something. Normally, you get that sensitivity when you go shallower, I find. And it's just, you know, to have that tuning range but not lack sensitivity, for me, is wicked. And
you also can whack it, so this one...
Yeah.
So it's quite a good all-rounder, to be fair.
Like I say, I really want to hear this with an Ambassador on it. I think it's going to sound fantastic.
Well, this one is the most expensive of the three,
right.
But for Mapex, they're introducing sort of new features. Obviously, there's loads of really expensive snares out there, so Mapex is sort of going, look, this is something we can do. We can get to that new level. So
yeah, and it's definitely, they've done a great job. Really, really impressed so far.
It's this one's a cool one.
Yeah.
So if you want to check out the snares, obviously these are the new ones to the Black Panther range. The link is below, and we'll see you next time.